chief whip of the majority party, has threatened that he will be kickstarting the process of amending the constitution through the introduction of the bill. So that's how far we are. The land issue is getting resolved in South Africa through a peaceful means within the constitutional framework of the Republic, which allows, amongst others, to be amended. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. The second issue is just basically welcoming the new NDPP, the head of the NPA, and we're saying to her, her strength will be shown through the prosecution of high-profile cases which involve politicians of South Africa, particularly from the ruling party, because we have seen in the past some reluctance from the NPA to prosecute people who are politically connected. So we note her appointment, and we hope that she will not be by the cabal, because there's a strong rumor that she's got some relationship with the Indian cabal that existed in the UDF in the 80s and early 90s. But we wish her well, and we thank President Ramaphosa for historical appointment. Appointing a female into such a position of power is indeed a reaffirmation of women, and it will instill, a lot of confidence amongst the women of the Republic of South Africa. I think those are two things that I have to deal with, because I don't think the address is a big issue. The Jack Power address.
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Unless they want me to talk about it.
Let's hear from the questions. So you are now welcome to ask questions, and you can pose anything. The leadership is always open to address any matter that you feel strong about. So we'll start with you from News 24.
No, English now.
English now, okay. And then Yan, who do you work for these days?
He's an independent firm.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes,
Sure.
sir.
I'm Jan Gerber from News 24. Like you said, Chief Whip Jackson Mthembu said they will report on Thursday. It will include establishment of a committee that will start working on drafting an amendment. So, are you ready to participate in this process? Substance.
Well, we told Jackson, I think we had made it very clear that if they don't start the process of the bill, we'll start the process of he stood up unnecessarily, he said, on a point of privilege, because he knew what he was anticipating. He was trying to from starting the process of the bill.
We need to come out of that particular media briefing by the EFF's Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, where he was basically talking about two issues: the adoption of what happened in Parliament earlier this afternoon, and of course the appointment of Advocate Shamila Batoyi as the new National Director of Public Prosecution, applauding President Cyril Ramaphosa on this particular appointment, saying that it will instill confidence in women, that women are indeed able to do it.
Yes, indeed. And of course, land is the big issue for the EFF, and the ANC and the EFF seemingly moving forward together in this issue of the land expropriation without compensation bill, which said he's just now was starting to say we're going to push for it to happen quite quickly, and if they don't do that, if the ANC doesn't start with the process, the EFF will. And but the issues between the two parties is how to do it, and that's probably where they're going to have a bit more negotiation. The EFF is talking about, of course, complete ownership of all land by the state, whereas the ANC is wanting to adopt a different approach to land expropriation. So we'll keep you monitored on that. But the other, as Palliser was saying, Shamila Batoy is now the new Director of Public Prosecutions, and most parties have welcomed the decision. But the question that we're asking is, who is she? Let's take a look at her profile.
Meet South Africa's new National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy. The seasoned legal eagle was an instant favorite when she appeared before the advisory panel to test her fitness to hold office.
There are no negotiations between the ANC and the EFF. Our cardinal pillar number one is non-negotiable. And the temptation from some amongst us in the EFF to even want to compromise that cardinal pillar number one, it's a cardinal sin in the EFF. It's non-negotiable. There's nothing we can do. We're going to talk. ANC will present its position, we'll present our position. And we will vote when the time is right, through the processes that will be outlined following the Thursday assembly. So we are very clear about the land, and we're not going to shift from that. Anything that seeks to make the EFF shift from what is called a non-negotiable, and then you want to come and negotiate with the ANC, then it means you're not genuine even from the beginning. It's not going to happen. Maybe after some of us are removed in the positions of leadership in the EFF, but for as long as I'm there, I will never present a proposal to the EFF that says we must agree with a mixed ownership of the land. We feel very strong that the land should belong to the state. The state must be the custodian of the land. And all of us must get a permission to occupy, depending on what we want to do, to occupy the land. If you want to build a house, go to the state and explain, I want to build a house and I need so many hectares or so many square meters. It will be allocated. The same with school, the same with church, the same with agriculture. So what does it mean? It means that if you've got a farm in Stellenbosch, you continue to farm in that farm, but you shall receive the permission to do so from the state. So you're farming on a farm that is 100 hectares, you're only using 50 hectares. The state will enter into negotiations and say, continue with your 50, or if you want to expand, you want extra 10, you can engage. That will be allocated so that the remaining should be given to those who also have interest to farm on the piece of land. There is no threat to production. If anything, there is a guarantee to increasing production, because the land that was just lying there not being utilized is now going to be utilized by other people who ordinarily will not have had access if that land was going to be sold to them, because they do not have money to buy the land. So that's where really we come from.
Okay,
The same goes to houses. You stay in this house, it's your house. There was someone who was coming with a crazy idea that a white person owns a house with 8 bedrooms, therefore you want to go into the house of a white person and say, no, you take 2 bedrooms, and then no, we don't want that. We don't want to stay in the houses of white people. We want the land. If there is a land next to where the suburbs of white people are, we'll take the land and allocate it to our people. Why? Closer to you, because that's where resources are. The roads, the water, the electricity, the hospital. So that's what we want. We want to be closer to where development is, because townships were not designed for residential arrangement. They were barracks. They were prison-like. We cannot continue to subject our people to townships, because that will be unwittingly supporting what apartheid regime did, pushing our people into barracks and cells. So we can't do that. We want to come closer to where things are. Can you imagine if people are closer to where they work? Because many of them use 70% of their salaries on transport. When they become closer to work, they save money and they are able to invest in more other important things than spending money on transport. When we adopted the report, I met outside is the president or the leader of Freedom Front, who said to me, this is just the beginning. We're still going to have a long way. I said to him, I know that. The only thing I'm happy is that I've got age on my side. So I'm prepared to go the long way until we achieve it.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Marianne Milton, Daily Maverick. Just a quick one. It might be a question
Yeah,
of
sure.
strategy and tactics. You say non-negotiable cardinal pillar, state must own the land. That was your original 27 February motion. That was heavily amended by the ANC, and the EFF agreed to it. Was that strategy and tactics to get this process rolling? Now that we got to this point, you're stepping back and you're looking now at your push to what you want. Will you get it? Did I misunderstand that?
Well, we got what we wanted. There were very insignificant amendments. I think they amended Como or something. I can't
It was
even.
a process amendment.
It was a process amendment,
It was
not
not
necessarily
amendment
the
of the process.
motion. Because remember that even at that time, we've had to go through this process. It was unavoidable. And in our motion, we had not included the process whether we should consult people to give us a permission to start the process to amend or not to amend. We said amend now, Asmus. That's how we start. You amend now. And then everyone says, no, we hear you, we can amend, but let's do this. So, okay, now we're talking. So let's go and do what you're saying. So we got what we wanted. Today when we entered the house, you could see that the DA was very provocative. They wanted to somehow do something that would delay the process. And we took a sober, conscious decision. We said, today they can even call us monkeys or anything. You don't say order, you don't say anything, you just keep quiet because you want this thing to pass. So we were focusing on the ball here. We were not going to be distracted, we were not going to be deterred. We're focusing on amending the constitution to expropriate land without compensation. What is going to help us? And the good thing is that the monopoly capital, white monopoly capital, appreciates that very well. It says we shouldn't have a situation where Cyril is at the mercy of the EFF come 2019. Because if he's in the mercy of the EFF, then we are guaranteed that the constitution is going to be amended the way the EFF wants it. So these unnecessary attacks on the EFF is to deliberately ensure that Cyril gets the necessary majority so that it doesn't depend on the EFF for him to be president or for any government to be constituted next year. So we are alive to that, that there's an agenda to discredit the EFF so that whoever is going to constitute government next year should not need the EFF. And by the look of things, it doesn't look good that Cyril will win. He will not win outright, so he will need us. So he must pray that he wins decisively, because if he doesn't win decisively and he needs the EFF, then those strategy and tactics you're talking about, they're going to kick in effectively. So anyone who's going to need the EFF next year will be based on this process. We hope that before we even go to elections, before we close this parliament, we would have resolved this matter and would have amended the constitution. That's what we want. We want it to be concluded. Even in the committee there, we said this must be done before we close this fifth parliament.
Stay.
I think you've in part, sorry, I think you've in part covered my question. But what I wanted to know is that when you speak of the bill, you're referring to the constitutional amendment bill, which will require 2/3 of the House, which at the moment, before elections, the EFF and the ANC have together. So if you cannot find each other on this thing of the mixed version and the extremely nationalized version of the EFF, does that then mean that you will not vote with the ANC? If you cannot strong arm them into agreeing with you guys, you will not vote for that bill to pass in Parliament?
Well, you see, strategy and tactics will deal with that at the right moment, because from time to time we have to, cross certain things. So if they want to insist on us passing the bill in a manner they are suggesting and we do not have the numbers, we will have to discuss, does it cause any harm, or do we abstain and reintroduce the subject again in the new parliament pending the outcome of the elections? Because we may not want to amend the constitution, which is not favorable to us, on the eve of the elections. And the election results give you the negotiating power. And when you go to say, let's amend the constitution, they say, we have to start the whole process again. So we'll talk to that. We're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs before we get what we want.
Excellent. Anika, anyone else? Are you there? No one else?
There's a hand at the back.
The hand at the back, I can't see.
It's her.
No, that's Anika.
Is that Anika?
Yes.
And
I just need another language when everybody's done, that's all.
Okay, we'll cover you. Anika.
Thank you. Mr. Malema, Anika Larson from ENCA. Talking about a campaign to destroy the EFF, this question may seg into that comment. Do you think that the reports that your wife is staying in a Hyde Park house owned by Mr. Mazzotti of Connie Links, who has got a reputation of not paying taxes and being involved in the smuggling of illegal cigarettes, I don't know if those are tested or not, is going to damage or has damaged your brand at all as being a party for poor workers and a party that is very anti-corruption?
Well, when we formed the EFF, I had a tax case. I had a criminal case. I was wearing Louis Vuitton. I was wearing Gucci. I stayed in Sandton, the houses they auctioned. All of that didn't stop me or the EFF to get the votes we got. Those houses were auctioned. I was projected as this or that person. But still, they couldn't stop the ideas that I personally stood for and we collectively stood for. So from time to time, we'll be confronted with such things. And the EFF brand, if it is a real brand and it believes in what it stands for, it has to go through the test. If it's weak and is based on non-existing solid ideological orientation, it will be destroyed by rumor mongering and gossip. So if EFF relies on Sunday World for survival, you rely on Sunday World to write good about you for survival, then there are no roots and basic principles that informed the existence of the EFF. My wife is educated. My wife comes from a stable family which had its own resources long before she met me. She's an independent woman. And for her to survive in the economy, she requires not me or not any man. She took that conscious decision in her early life to educate herself so that she doesn't rely on a man. Anyone that wants to attack her using me, you are undermining the women you claim to be representing. that a woman on her own, she cannot afford this or that. I don't speak for her. She can speak for herself. She's got the capacity to do so. The only thing that worried me is that there are 3 of my kids in that house. And when I'm here, they are left with her. She's got no bodyguards. Jack says this is where she stays. She drives a white Porsche Cayenne. Anyone who wants to do anything to her will just park outside that house and wait for a white Porsche Cayenne to get out. You will know it's her. And it's acceptable. Wait until the EFF reacts. Not only to Jack, to his wife and children if he does have. Because he involves my children and my wife. Wait until I involve his wife and children. I won't do that through a tweet. He shouldn't do that. And you are going to say I'm threatening journalists who threaten my wife's life and my children's life. One of my kids at 2 years goes to school. My wife takes that child to school every morning. So what happens now? She never took the child to school since they tweeted her car. So the child can't go to school. Me, I don't have a problem. You can say anything about me. You can criticize me. This is the life I've chosen. And they chose their own different life. So this brand EFF will never be shaken by such things. There's nothing at all. If anything, we're more resolute. I actually derive pleasure from seeing these people who are irritated, highly irritated. That's when I know that I've got them. It means I'm hitting at the right place. I've been like this all my life. Nothing new. Nothing new. All I'm worried about, is the black unity. You know, if it's a white person, they will rally behind that person, close ranks and say all types of things. Let's look at Malema's matric results, which get published because people can't falter Malema. This thing that is happening is not a new thing to me. That's why it will never shake me. Malema's matric result gets found and distributed everywhere else because we must defeat Malema's ideas and what he stands for. But because we have no alternative political perspective, we must go personal. Publish my matric results and say all sorts of things. What was fun is that it was black people who were at the forefront of spreading those things. Then we find here in Parliament a matric graduate. What happened? All whites rallied behind him. All of them. You will never touch their own. But we are very, easily agitated like that to go after our own. And then for the first time we are told that actually degrees nothing. But during Malema's time was that no, all of these problems are caused by these people who are not educated. They must go to school. Now because they want to blame it on the EFF, they say, no, we said if you don't have post-matric, you are not important. They forget that the debate actually comes from the DA. Why was that debate necessary from the DA? Because black people in the DA will not be where they are if they don't have post-matric. But here is a person at the highest level without a post-matric qualification. So I'm not worried about what is happening now in the EFF. Look, we're dealing with a big plot here. Pravin doesn't play. You don't go to Pravin. Don't even talk to me. Go and talk to Winnie. I sat with Winnie all my life. Some of these people, I look at them and I know what they've done. That's why they irritate me. Destroyed Winnie. Destroyed and created a very bad image about people like Peter Mokaba. Actually, Peter Mokaba was a sellout. According to them, he was a spy, an apartheid spy, because they wanted to destroy him. The same thing with Holomisa, the so-called radicals in the movement were destroyed by the moderates who were represented by the cabal. So when I go and declare that we are going on an opposite direction with Pravin, I know the consequences. I know how they fight. All this investigative journalism is an absolute nonsense. There's no such a thing. You know what the investigators is Johan van Lochenbeck and Ivan Pillay. You can talk Jack Pau. The material was given to him by Johan van Lochenbeck. You can talk Sunday Times investigative team. It's supported by what is that? Ukozi Forensic. Who's Ukozi Forensic? Is Ivan Pillay and Van Lochenbeck. There is no investigative journalism at all. So the EFF buys a property in Sundown. That property is registered with Deeds Office. It's under the EFF's name. The money didn't come from the EFF account and then buy Malema a house. The EFF buys a house, the EFF buys building, it invests its money where it matters the most. How did we do that? We realized that for every election when we go to the banks, they want us to produce some form of guarantees. What do you call it, SG? Collateral. SG, myself, Floyd, Dali, Maggie Munsami. Till today, our little salaries we have are locked in a Standard Bank because we went to take a loan in the Standard Bank. And then we realized that instead of getting individuals to take their family properties to use them as collateral for EFF, let us start, collecting property. No, Amabungani investigation and Skopje discovered that EFF bought property. How can that be a scoop? EFF is not spending its money on alcohol. It's investing money in property. EFF is renting offices in Bramfontein. It buys a huge building in town, in Gandhi Square. A big scoop. They bought the whole thing. And they say, no, you used VBS money. The house in Sundown, we bought it through FNB money, which FNB gave it to us through advance. That advance, they give it to us because it's guaranteed by IEC money, which gets to be paid to us every quarter. So they give us an advance, and then when the money comes in, they automatically take the money. That's one. Two, the property in Gandhi Square is financed by Standard Bank. How much? 11 million? Yes. 11 million in a property that was worth 17, 18 million. We bought the property at 21 million, worth 21 million. We bought the property at 16 million. So the Standard Bank gave us 11 million, and then we went to take from the party levy and some advances to pay the deposit. Then Standard Bank gave us a loan, not a bond. They said, hey, you're too risky, we can't give you a bond, we'll rather give you a loan. Loan because it comes with high interest. That's how we bought the property. But the way we're being approached, like we're thugs, we're criminals and all that, even when you are asked, where did you get the money? We end up saying, we don't know where we got the money. So we get attacked like that. There is no VBS money that is used in any of those things. You can go to any of those transactions. You'll never find a VBS money. We're running a solid organization. We're going to buy more property because we need to ensure that the EFF is financially independent and sustainable, to avoid those things you are talking about, my sister, of cigarette smugglers. Because every time people give us a donation, we can't be asking them, do you smuggle beers? Do you smuggle cigarettes? What else? I mean, the people who just withdraw their money, We come to hear some of those things after. The other issue, they say I relate with Mazzotti because I spoke to Moyane to drop Mazzotti's thing. An absolute rubbish. I met Moyane once in my life. This is what happened. And you colleagues, I don't know why you easily forget. Remember my case with SARS when they wanted to sequestrate me in Pretoria, SG. We went there. SARS couldn't sustain the argument. During lunch, Nick Maretz is a senior counsel. This is all documented. Nick Maretz approaches my legal team and says, guys, let's drop this. We accept Malema's compromise, and then Malema must withdraw his application to have the compromise recognized. We're done. We will even pay your legal fees. Because we don't trust them, we say write down. He writes down. When that was done, Tom Moyane called a meeting in a hotel and fought with Nick Maretz and the legal team as to why do they embarrass the country by acceding to our demand and dropping the case against me. It's Tom Moyane who wanted me sequestrated and removed from this parliament, working with Jacob Zuma. Today, I'm the one who saved Mazzotti's thing through Moyane. I called a meeting with SARS. I called him. Then I called the meeting. SARS brought a legal team here. I said, this is what I've done with you. This is where I come from. I concluded the deal with you. You know who wrote my compromise? Literally word for word. It's Johan van Lochenberg. Sitting with Tumi Mukwena. Johan wrote my compromise. You know who okayed my compromise? It's Jean Ravel. All of them, they are Pravin's people. Nowhere in my document will you find a word Tom Moyane. But it is deliberately distorted to suit a particular narrative. Written by Johan van Lochenberg is there in my affidavit. People don't read. I don't know if this thing of metric affects everyone. People don't read. It's in my affidavit. In all those court applications I've made, I said Johan wrote my compromise, word for word. And then a compromise, which is now a court order, by the way. A court has ordered that this compromise is legally binding and stands. Okayed by Jean Ravele, a main man of Pravin. No way. I've never. Who's Tom Moyane's man? Okay, Makwakwa. Is it Makwakwa? Yeah. Nowhere will you find Makwakwa in my documents. Nowhere will you find Luther in my documents. No one of close proximity to Tom Moyane is anywhere near my settlement with SARS. And therefore I've never negotiated for Mazzotti's staying with Tom Moyane. Nothing at all. All of that is well documented in the court applications where I was saying my compromise must be recognized. So, where's the story that I'm speaking for Moyane? I wanted Moyane fired, as in yesterday. But how you do that is very important. I've always made that point. I don't care. Even Zuma, if tomorrow I'm sitting here and I hear someone saying Zuma found guilty and sentenced to jail without any trial, without any due process, I will never agree to that. I didn't agree to that when it was done to Pravin. I said to Zuma, you can't do it. Despite the fact that Pravin took my house, threw my kettles on the streets, destroyed me, fought me bitterly, and went into SARS to tell the SARS officials that Zuma wants me dealt with. Despite that, I still said, Zuma, you can't do that to this man. You must treat this guy fairly. Because I believe everybody else must be dealt with fairly. I don't want anyone persecuted. I will never subscribe to any politics of persecuting people. So this drama, I see it as it unfolds, and it reminds me of those old days. Now, my wife goes and rent in Mazoti's apartment. Where else must rent? Yeah, she's got a contract, all of that. The best business to support is to support the business of the people you know. If I had gone to Pam Goldings, or if she had gone to Pam Goldings, there was not going to be an issue. So we cannot have that. Let her stay where she wants to stay. She must go. If Aglioti owns a property, she must go and rent if she wants to rent there. She's not Aglioti. She's not involved with Aglioti. She's not involved in anything that Mazoti does. She's renting there. If tomorrow you arrest Mazoti and you take the properties of Mazoti, she will go and rent somewhere else. Why is this poor woman renting? Her husband's properties were auctioned. I can't have a property. Still, my wife and children can't have a place to rent. Even after auctioning my properties. What must happen? These kids must just not have a roof over their head. Unfortunately, none of you have got an authority over that. I'm the one who's got an authority over that. And then there's an argument here, DP. How do they afford all of this with a parliament salary? I'm not the one who's renting. Na ngitlala Acacia Park. I'm not renting anything. An educated woman who used to work and has got her own wealth from her own family. She's now being asked. They're not even asking her. They're asking, how do I afford that? I don't do anything for her. She's an independent woman. She does her own things. Whereas she went to school. She's not just a matric graduate. She went to school. She worked. She's a professional. And she's in finance, not in history. Not that there is something wrong with history. She's a financial planner.
Excellent. You were next.
Yeah, there's a follow-up.
Do you still have bodyguards?
Yeah, I've got bodyguards by the state. I'm protected by the state.
Do you feel threatened on a daily basis? Are you scared for your life?
No. You know what happened? I was sitting like this, and then police came and said they've got information that they are this and that. I never asked anything from the police. They came to me, crime intelligence. And I'm a citizen in this country. When police tell me there's a concern, I have to listen to them. And then we got information of the assassination now of our deputy president, which we have reported to the police for them to investigate. Since the introduction, since the publishing of the address, many strange cars have been parking there. She calls me, she tells me when she was going out, she found a car outside with the security, and then when she came out, the car vanished, and then security told her that guy was asking if Mr. Malema is staying here, and then when you approached, the car disappeared. And I'm like, why are you not saying bye or anything of that sort? So the person in the car didn't want to be seen by the car which was driving outside. I mean, driving from from that place. So of late, I'm told that I'm not always there. That they have been seeing strange cars, and we've brought the matter to the attention of the police as well. Because if there's anything before we act, police must know. They must just not do it in my presence, because I don't negotiate, not with my wife and my children. I shoot to kill. For them I kill, literally. I don't play games.
Yes, sir.
Jan Lange from Rapport newspaper. Sorry, I just can't resist this.
Yeah.
Seeing the role that property ownership plays in your organization, in liquidity, in gaining access to resources, why don't you realize that every organization in South Africa needs property, private property, to mobilize resources, to grow, to create jobs, to grow the economy, and make you rethink your position on state ownership of all property.
The land is part of property, it's not property. You see the Midrand waterfall, I want to call it by right name, waterfall. The Indian family owns that land.
The Mayor family.
The Mayor family, they own the whole of the land there. But the people who are investing on that land which is owned by the Mayor family, they don't see themselves as propertyless. They continue to buy and build houses on the land they are not owning. The banks continue to finance them on the land they are not owning. I can go and get a long lease from the Mayor family. With a long lease from the Mayor family, go to the bank to build my house. My house is not the Mayor family's house. It's my house on their land.
The banks are using a collective name for land and fixed property. It's fixed property. That secures finance.
No, I think that's confusion.
Creeping?
Yeah, you know, the biggest investments in South Africa happen on state-owned land.
Yes.
In Kocha, in East London Development Zone, in Dubai Trade Port, in Atlantis. The biggest investments, which are bank-financed, not only by local banks, by international banks, happen on state-owned land.
No, but all of us, the investment happens when there is a security of tenure.
Yes.
Don't talk ownership, talk security of tenure. Today, as we speak, in the rural areas, on a land that is communally owned, there are developments which are taking place. Business is beginning to go into the rural areas, particularly the shopping malls and all those type of things. On a land owned through permission to occupy. All we're saying is that let's all throw in these ideas in this basket until we find one another. Let's have a conversation, because we're all driven by the fact that people are being excluded. How do we include them? How do we include them in a manner that it will not perpetuate the inequality that we are subjected to in South Africa? We know the importance of property. That's why in the EFF we're not suggesting that there should be a complete ban of business or private participation, not at all. But I'm saying, why would the bank be so much interested in a land that is owned by a family than a land that is owned by the state? So the state will guarantee a security of tenure for whatever development and investment people want to make. You know, one Chinese fellow was saying to us that they are actually farming on a land owned by the state, and they inherited it from their grandfathers who passed it to their fathers, and then they are now on the farm. They say to us, there is nothing we are doing there on that land which makes us feel like we are not the owners of the land. That which you people do in the land where you've got title deeds and all that, we do on a state-owned land, and we don't feel like we are not personally, individually owning the land. We want that type of model in South Africa where your children will have the right to inherit that lease from you. We don't want a situation where when you die, we are told your children must now vacate because the contract was between you and the state, not your children.
Excuse me.
Okay. Let's just try the last one, so it will be you. Anyone else who feels strong and burning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just on your earlier point, because we have this issue of Bosasa now, you're saying that you can't be asking every time someone comes and says to you, here's a donation, if there be a smuggler, whatever the case may be. But it does matter who does fund you. That's why we have this issue now.
Yeah.
So what is your position on that exactly?
Which one?
On people that give you money. If there are people who are said to be, I don't know, corrupt or issues around them, does it matter who funds you?
No, it does matter. I'm saying to you, we cannot, from every time a person wants to donate, ask them if they are smuggling cigarettes or beer or anything. Remember, people will tell you, I am in the cigarette business. You can't say, are you smuggling or not smuggling? Once he says, I'm in cigarette business, fair enough. You can't take money without asking, what do you do? We ask those questions. Then we get to be told later that there is actually illicit cigarettes. And when you check in the cigarette arrangement, this illicit thing is even with the BAT itself. I don't want a country to actually debate illicit cigarettes as taking money from our tax. I think that is a misplaced debate. We should be having a debate whether we shouldn't ban cigarettes in South Africa. Because there's scientific evidence that says this thing is causing problems. If people die from it, it causes cancer. So, more than anything, I will support the idea that says let's ban cigarettes in South Africa. Not let's stop illicit. There won't be illicit of cigarettes if we just stop cigarettes. Because even the boxes are written there. Smoking is danger. And how do you legalize something that is danger? It's dangerous. So, it's like giving kids electricity to go and play with it. This is electricity, it's dangerous. Play. Put it in water before you bath. But you know that this is dangerous, but put it in the water. No, it's a misplaced debate. There's no debate on illicit. It's just monopoly wanting to continue to monopolize the cigarette industry. If anything, let us ban smoking in South Africa and close these factories of cigarettes because they are killing our people. I mean, that's the best solution. I know some people next to me here are going to have a big problem with me when we finish this press conference. But I think that will be a genuine debate to have, which will be based on scientific arguments, not on some peripheral issues which seeks to continue monopoly over the cigarette industries. I've always said, and the leadership of the EFF maintains, that if Mazoti is involved in anything illegal, those with evidence, if they are scared of police station, they must bring it to us. We will be the ones who will go and open a case against him. Because we don't want anyone, not even from amongst us. So there's no evidence. Now, this parliament here says it's going to investigate Floyd on VBS, 10 million, right? I see it in those arrangements. Okay, where is the evidence? Because there must be some prima facie evidence. They say no, Polly van Wyk, based on Polly van Wyk's article. That is the only evidence they are bringing to this ethics committee. Polly van Wyk herself doesn't have an evidence which we have been asking on 10 million. It's not there. I said, let's not shift a goalpost and say, they bought flats at 4 ways. What is the new money and do what with it? Ryan was supposed to get money and leave the account and pray for it every time I go to the ATM and do a balance when it says 16 million and leave it like that. You get money to buy things with it. So whether he bought properties is none of our business. Our business is our deputy president got 10 million. We didn't find it in his accounts. Polly, can you give us the evidence of 10 million? We're still waiting. Okay, we thought she shared evidence with Parliament. Now Parliament writes and says, well, we must take Shivambo to ethics. Okay, based on what Madam Police article. Didn't she give you something or something? Nothing. We're still waiting. We're not hiding anything. There is law enforcement in this country. Anyone who's doing anything wrong, they must go and open a case and provide the necessary evidence. We did that with Pravin. Yeah. We did that with Pravin. We are now in a process of trying to declassify certain documents which are classified by the intelligence. We need to get them declassified. Horrible stories of Pravin in there. You know what? You need to learn something. We have never said before you here and say things that didn't come to pass.
Yes.
You must learn from that. By now, would be either in jail or sued millions with the types of allegations we have raised in this platform. We cannot just, in our rightful mind, go after Pravin without any evidence. Parliamentary press. Pravin must tell us why he's not answering EFF questions. He says in his rightful mind, I won't answer because they are written on an EFF letterhead. But we have been asking him questions on EFF letterhead and he has been answering.
Yes.
Today, Pravin doesn't want to answer. And he's being protected by media, News 24 and all of that. It can be. There's nothing wrong. We're not fighting with you. All we're asking you is, please be fair on all of us. We know you love Pravin, but Pravin is a human being. Otherwise, you are going to become like Zuma fanatics who were in denial. Why are you not asking Pravin to answer the questions? Because the same questions we ask to all ministers through EFF letterhead, they've never refused to answer based on the letterhead. Pravin has never refused to answer based on the EFF letterhead. All of a sudden, Pravin finds some way to avoid answering questions and says, I can't answer on the EFF letterhead, but he has answered in the past. Why are you not asking yourself a simple question? Why is Pravin avoiding answering questions? The last one is, why is Pravin's daughter resigning in the companies if she's in those companies on behalf of Investec? And Pravin has said the record straight according to News 24. Pravin said the record straight. But we released the companies of the daughter. The daughter immediately started resigning from the companies. Then we're later told that the daughter is actually sitting there on behalf of Investec. If there was nothing wrong with her sitting there, why is she resigning? Why can't any of you with investigative journalism skills go and check all the 11 companies? When did Pravin's daughter resign? Was it before EFF questions or was it after EFF questions? Once it's after EFF questions, you have a reason now to start asking critical questions. Why? Someone told me that she was hospitalized after those questions. Because we are up to something. Many people who want to do transactions with Pravin, they meet at Investec offices. Actually, Pravin has got an office in the Investec offices. They are together. That's why they said, I just use us as a scapegoat for the daughter. Why is the daughter resigning if there's nothing wrong with Pravin? Why is News 24 not saying, let's leave everything else in the hands of law enforcement? Because Malema and them, they went to police station, they gave them the account number and all that. Law enforcement will tell us, or no, those things are non-existent. We also wrote to Financial Intelligence Center to investigate that Pravin's account. That's how serious we are. We are not just bluffing about it. So this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to use VBS to close Brian's account, to close Floyd Shivambo's account, and close EFF account, so that EFF can go to elections without a bank account, because they will say there are suspicious transactions in an EFF account. How do you do that and then still call this counter-democracy? You use the muscle you have of controlling the banks to close an account of a political party simply because you don't agree with their ideas. We're ready for them. Let them go and close an EFF account. Let them go and close it, because when they close EFF account, even the little money you get from Parliament, you will no longer receive it because the account is closed. Just on ideas. We're disagreeing on ideas. The best thing a person can do, if their ideas are superior, let them go and use elections to defeat just the EFF if they are, and not to abuse their proximity to the banks to want to close the account of the EFF on the eve of the elections, so that EFF cannot, engage in a very productive campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and have a great evening.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Bob.
I see you took a front seat.
That Venek.
Wait.
A month load of stories.
Thank you, Rosie.
Go home. So much.
Yeah.
Just grab the microphone, please.
Take it.
Excuse me.
Good. So, what the mic?
Just give it. They're gonna do another language.
Save as anything.
That's all.
No, I want to conduct this interview in Africa.
Yeah. You didn't have one
Oh, we did it? Oh.
So why do you move when he does the neck cue?
Because I must say it in Spedi, he says it in Shangaan, then he says it in Swat.
Out for the smoke now before it's done.
You started.
Before it's
What
done.
Homano?
Can we get
Can I go?
You smoke?
No.
I don't like that thing. I don't like that thing either.
Malema, just quickly in Vinash, please, you.
The land.
Response to NDPP.
Have the chief.
Chief.
President?
We're starting.
Oh, yes.
Re ba EFF re nyaka o amogela motšhotšhiso o mogolo o a kgethilweng wa naga ebile re leboga gore ba kgethile motho wa mosadi ke mathomo o kgethiwa motšhotšhiso o mogolo wa naga wa go ba motho wa mosadi re President Ramaphosa ka o lebelela taba ya basadi o tlogile a dia gabotse mara tše dintšhi re tla di bona ge motšhotšhisi a thoma go tshwara batho ba ba senyang mo nageng ya rena ya Afrika Borwa ka gore re dumela gore go na le batho ba bagolo ba e leng gore ba senya mo nageng ya bo rena ba ba beng ka hara mekgatlo ya dipolotiki kudu mokgatlo o bušang mara a ba tshwarwe ene mo ba sa tshwareng ba tšwela pele ba dia bosenyi so re kwela le tše dingwe tša gore ke motho e leng gore o ka re o tsebana le batho ba ne ba ba bitša gore ke Indian cabal mo lekgotleng la naga yolo re tla be re mo lebeletše gore na yena le batho ba ba cabal ba berekišana jwang ba tsebana jwang le gore o mo maemong a e leng gore ba mo controla batho ba uo ora ba mo controle na ka gore ga ka dumela gore batho ba cabal ba mo control go ra gore o tla be a feitše jwalo ka motšhotšhiso o mogolo wa naga wa Afrika Borwa re go yana mošomo ke mošomo mogolo o nyaka motho wa ba le maikarabelo wa o tsamaye a theeletša mabarebare mara wo a tlo berekang go ya ka bohlatse bo bo tla beng bo beilwe pele ga Thobe.
Thank you very much.
Tobe.
Did you hear anything?
Okay.
Just
Yes,
on
you
the...
talk about the Indian cabal.
The president. They were just, every forum just released a statement. They said they will continue fighting this amendment.
Yeah.
That they will now also increase the actions